under the church of condemnation. We were raised around the churches of thou shalt not. We were raised under some heavy legalism, and sometimes in some of the churches, the holy roller churches that we were part of, we had some real legalism in. I'm not interested in legalism, but I'm not interested in covering up the power of God. When Paul came, he said, I didn't come to you with great wisdom and great teaching. I didn't come to you with several teaching series. I didn't come to you with 500 keys of the 57 ways of how to... You have to understand something. I am for teaching. I have cut my teeth. I am a teacher at times. But the Bible, anywhere you look in the New Testament or anywhere you look in the Bible, prophet and teacher, anytime they're paired together, prophet always comes first. Teacher comes second. And I got into trouble with the Lord because I kept putting the teacher first. You know why I was putting the teacher first? It's because people like teaching more than they like that prophet. They don't like when the prophet stands up and gets in people's face. How dare you, young man? I'm just glad you call me young. How dare you? Who do you think you are? I don't think I'm anything, but I do think this one thing, that when His power gets on me and His word gets in my belly like fire, I'm like Jeremiah. I tried to keep it to myself. I tried to shut up. I tried to leave it alone. I tried to be quiet. I've gotten frustrated and said, I'm not going to preach like that again. And just like Jeremiah, 30 minutes later, you're up preaching like it. They said, I thought you were going to sit down. I thought you were going to shut up. I couldn't. It was like fire. Shut up in my bones. I couldn't keep it to myself. I'm here to tell you, we're drawing a line in the sand. I will not worry about criticism. I will not worry about persecution. I will not worry about that. Why? Because God has done so much for us that we should not forsake Him to try to be palatable and popular with people. I thank God for what He's done. We've had Church of Christ, Presbyterians, Methodists, Lutherans, Baptists of all sorts, charismatics, Pentecostals, Word of Faith people. We've had them all in this meeting. And you know what? We hadn't run off too many. Because you're still here on Tuesday night in the 5th week. But it's time to make a decision. Are we going to bow our knee to the idol of church growth? Or be guilty of who we are? They already think you're nuts for driving up in the parking lot. They watched you get out of your car. They watched you come in the door and stay longer than you should have stayed. Now you're guilty by association. I'm one of them. I'm one of them. Now guys, listen real carefully. I'm not interested in isolating. I'm not interested in polarizing. I'm not interested in criticizing. I'm just saying, don't criticize me while I dance. Don't criticize me while I praise. Don't criticize me while I cry. Don't criticize me while I dance. Don't criticize me while I'm blessing the Lord. And I won't criticize you while you stay stuck in the mud. I'm not going to criticize you while you stay quiet. I'm not going to criticize you while you stay in that old dead dry church. But I want the power of God in my life. I don't want just the excellency of speech. I don't want just something deep. I want the power of God, that my faith may not rest in the wisdom of men, but in the power and the demonstrations of the Holy Ghost. My interest is not to hurt anybody, but my interest is not to forsake what brought me this far. We have a heritage. We have a heritage. They were criticizing the first bunch of Pentecostals on that day. They said, you all a bunch of drunks. You all had some of that wine, and here it is, 9 o'clock in the morning. Shame on you. Shame on you for acting the way. That's not the way we act down here at the synagogue. That's not the way we've been raised. You not to be acting like that. No, sorry guys. These men are not drunk like you think they are. Now, they're drunk, but they're not drunk like you think they are. They're very, very filled with the Holy Ghost. And I'm watching a polarization happening in this nation. The ones who are wanting to retreat to the comfortable place, and the ones that are trying to go more and more palatable to obtain large ministry, I'm telling you, there's something in this nation that is going to make the church return back to its roots. And we're going to see the power of God in demonstration again. And those are the churches that when people get to running and needing a miracle, they're not going to run down to that church that's so quiet and reverent and so. They're not going to run to those churches. They're going to run to the place where miracles are flowing and miracles are walking. And miracles, when you get the reputation for miracles, I heard old Robert say this. Everybody criticizes me until they need a miracle. They want to discount and discredit and invalidate his ministry until they need a miracle. Blessed be God. He stayed sweet and stayed kind. And people that criticized wrote articles and books and maligned him. And you know what he'd do? He'd wrap them up in his arms. He'd lay his hands on them and he'd bless them. Why? He said, because by this shall all men know. Yeah, come on. Love doesn't hold a grudge. Love takes no account of a wrong suffered. Love is not keeping score. Love is not recounting all the things that were done that became interest. Love says, you know what? I don't have anything in the beginning. And all I have is I have God. And he said, I freely have been given. I'm going to freely give. It's high time. It's high time we quit trying to be in and try and look pretty. Because the Holy Ghost knows how to bless you in ways that we have walked away from. He's got some things in reserve for us, and he is going to break us out of that stuff. The moment we decide we're going to open up our heart and just say, God, whatever you have to do, whatever you have, however you have to do it, that's what I want. Now, if this is, I understand there are 23 people, brand new. You haven't been in this meeting at all. I'm not interested in hurting your feelings by any means. I'm not interested in doing it. But you know what? The Spirit of God has been in this place that somebody might come up and lay their hands on you, and the very thing that you've been asking the doctors to do that they can't do, all of a sudden just shows up in your body. I don't know if you heard this part. Or if it was said, I don't know, because sometimes I come in. But you heard Bob and Judy's testimony last night, if those of you. Now, Judy had lung cancer. And she came up, they belong to the United Methodist Church. And they came in believing God. It's easier to minister sometimes to Methodist people than it is to Pentecostal people. Sometimes I'd rather get a hold of a good Baptist than a dull Pentecostal. Smith Wigglesworth said, he said, I'd rather preach among hungry Baptists than satisfied Pentecostals. I had two. I was invited to a Baptist church one time. Actually, I've been invited several times, but I was invited to one particular Baptist church.